Welcome to the Bleav Podcast Network SoCal Sweat. My name is Anne McDaniels, a former NFL cheerleader and product manager turned actress and model who dreams of being a UFC fighter. Meow. Learning strategies to help motivate others leads me to bring you interviews each week from a range of athletes, experts in fitness and nutrition, and so much more. Thanks for listening to Bleav, the #1 podcast for working professionals, and let's push our endorphins to higher performance through SoCal Sweat. This is your host, Anne McDaniels of SoCal Sweat. This episode features Hollywood stuntman Jervan "Swerve" Bramble, who pushes himself to always stay in fighting shape for the cameras, and his endless pursuit to push his own body to the max of his top physicality through his training, workouts, and nutrition. Jervan "Swerve" Bramble is a professional Hollywood stuntman who has appeared in everything from Dune and SWAT to Ant-Man and Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. Swerve is trained as a dancer and trickster, stunt performer, and actor who is fluent in different styles of street dance and performance art. Mastering the art of b-boying or breakdancing, hip-hop, and krump dance styles, he's also practiced various forms of martial arts for the last 13 years, taekwondo, boxing, and kung fu to be exact. Also in gymnastics and tricking for the last 8 years. He also grew up playing sports through high school and college, with focus on football, basketball, volleyball, and lacrosse. And now I'm very excited to introduce you to Jervan "Swerve" Bramble, Hollywood stuntman. Stuntman, actor, Jervan "Swerve" Bramble. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and thank you.
Good. Thank you so much for coming on. Absolutely. Jervan and I worked together on a video game commercial.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was a fun one. Yeah.
It was a fun one. We bonded in the green room. I think there was somebody on set that we were like, I was annoyed with.
And
And you were fun.
Oh my goodness. I remember.
You kept me in my lane, which is very, very good. And I appreciate that. So Jervan, the stunt world in Hollywood is very complicated to get into, as we know. And when someone says, I'm a stunter, a lot of people are like, oh my God, how'd you get into that? It is not an easy thing. Not only do you have to have the athletic background, you have to have, the professionalism and the training. Could you please tell me a little bit about your history in sports and martial arts and dancing, and what did you see that really got you into the stunt world, and how did you get here?
Sure. Well, so a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people are pretty confused on how to become a stunt performer. And it takes a little bit of time to understand the system behind it. It's not necessarily like acting or dance work or any other industry actually within Hollywood, because you're not like looking for an agent or something. Generally speaking, most stunt performers have a background in one specialized field. And this is specifically for America. There's other countries that have different things, like in the UK or Australia, where you can actually go through different courses and they have different levels. If you're coming from no background of stunts at all, and you can actually get a specific training. But here in America, we're usually specialized. So usually that means that stunt performers are coming from a background depending on their sport or their field. So like you said, if they're very athletic and they used to do martial arts all growing up, like I did taekwondo all the growing up, kung fu. I was training for about 13 years, and then I got into breaking. A lot of people know it as breakdancing. I'm a b-boy. And so I traveled the world with that for 10 years.
Also,
and so, yeah, I did. And I also do a multitude of different types of street performance arts and street dancing, including hip hop, krump, and breaking. And so after going overseas and traveling and competing in breaking, then I came back in about end of 2014, 2015. And I was like, well, don't really feel like getting a 9-to-5. LA is right there. I had graduated from University of Riverside, UCR. So I was like, it's about an hour away. Let me see how I can get into this industry a bit. and a friend had informed me, and he just gave me the website LA Casting, and just from that website, my whole career just took off. So I was able to submit and get in through my dancing. And after a year of commuting for an hour and a half back and forth to Riverside, building up my resume, I didn't limit myself just to dance. I did acting, voice acting, modeling, basically whatever I could do. And I also, of course, was able to get into a little bit of stunt work, because I kept on seeing that come up, and it clicked on me. I was like, oh yeah, this is a thing that I can do. So, but it was the ever reigning question of, how do I get into stunts? How do you get into stunts? How do you do it? And honestly, it just comes back to where you're training. And I would train at a place called Jam, Joining All Movement. It's a tricking and parkour gym. Some of you may know it. Also Tempest Free Running. I didn't necessarily go there that much, but that's a parkour gym in the same area, and LA Valley College. Those are some main areas that a lot of people in my specialty of flips and tricking and breaking and such, they usually train at. Now, for other stunt performers, they may have a background in high diving, or they may have a background in driving, like car stunts and such. So, yeah, it just depends on where you would want to get into.
So obviously you're very diversified. So if you were to say your main, because a lot of times stunt coordinators want like certain people to just do specific things. And how do you avoid the stereotype of that? Like, oh, he's our trickster, he's our parkour. But you also do, I mean, you could play an NFL player. How do you advertise yourself as far as like the whole gamut? Because basically you can do anything.
Right. So when you initially come in as a stunt performer, like I said, you have that one specialty. But if you treat yourself like a business, like most of us do in this industry, you want more tools to have in your shop. You want more product so that people will want to purchase from you. So, of course, you're going to have your specialty that you're very good at and that you know you'll get hired for. But if you want to get hired more, then you start advancing in training in different other aspects. So a lot of stunt performers will expand on their skill sets, such as doing high falls, fire burns, learning how to drive, motorcycles, high diving, skydiving, scuba diving, every type of diving, skateboarding, any kind of thing that you want to do that you would see in different movie scenes, etc. And then you create a reel from that, just like actors have their reels, stunt performers have their reels. And it's a little bit more important for us, I would say, just because we don't have agent representation. So generally that's what we're sending to stunt coordinators in order to get hired, so they can see that we have the skill sets, multiple skill sets.
And they can direct book you for the most part. So if you work with somebody who's, he's been in for 25 years, he can always go to you and always rely on you. You get repeat bookings.
Yeah.
So it's basically just building up your business. Now, I really want to ask you about the physical training. Obviously, you're constantly sharp and attending classes. What do you do every day for workouts? And how do you always train specifically for the movie coming up?
So since we're more freelance, we don't specifically train for a movie unless it's something that you know that you're going to be on core team, what we call core team. So you'll be on the team from the beginning, from prep to rehearsals and previs, and then the actual shoot. So that may be from anywhere for as long as the movie's going for. So it could be an 8-month run. And if you know you're particularly doubling for somebody, then you would train to stay at their body shape and level, etc. But generally, most stunt performers aren't doing that. And we're given a lot of either daily or weekly jobs. And so we got to be ready for any kind of job or activity. So again, it does depend on the art that you're training in. If you're a car driver and you're a drifter and you're spending a ton of money on parts and tires, etc., you may be going to the track maybe once a week or a couple times a month. It depends on how your schedule is and what you're doing in order to keep your skills sharp, because it costs a lot of money. The easiest and cheapest to do are the free arts or the cheaper arts like martial arts, and just paying for a gym membership and training with either other performers or from an actual martial arts school that you trust, expanding on your abilities. So for me, I'm a fight guy. I like to do fight scenes and such. So I train in a lot of different martial arts, and currently I do boxing, jujitsu, and taekwondo as my main forms of martial arts that I really train hard in.
Amazing. Boxing's my favorite. And with the gymnastics and the tricking work that you can do, I mean, you can completely do like Jackie Chan types of moves with the flips and that's
right.
amazing. Now,
Yeah.
also, are you trained at all in any kind of weapons with martial arts or weapons, for like cop scenes or things like that?
Right. So just like, in the industry, we do get stereotyped. And so I usually get booked for a lot of either gangster or thug number 4 roles, or
you do very well at that. I love your reel.
yeah, or I get military roles. And so I've done a lot of tactical training, and you're training at the range, or you're training different types of military types of things. I got my skydiving license, so I can, if I get military roles and I got to jump into the water, parachute out, and do some military scenes, I have that on lock as well. And that's the one thing that I really do enjoy about stunts. It's that it keeps on opening up avenues. Before I got into this career, I wasn't really thinking about getting my skydiving license. And not to say that I will be having to do a lot of skydiving in films and scenes, but at least it opened up my idea to be able to do that. So it's always ever expanding. Whenever we make money, we reinvest in ourselves in order to increase our skill sets.
Absolutely. And a lot of people will just rest on a couple skills. And I love that you're always forward thinking, looking at what's going to be coming out in films and what you can lend that to. That's amazing. Now, how do you stay healthy during these things? Because when I was on Ad Astra, I saw there were several. I was at craft services with several of the Brad Pitts, and they were all in the same exact white astronaut suit. And some were like leaner and buffer than others, and they were all drinking this electrolyte little tube of just like keeping themselves hydrated, because we were going for so long on these shoots. It was very hot. And what types of things? Because sometimes, like for example, I mean, some of the desert fights or some of the desert scenes for military take place, as we know, north of LA, where it looks like a desert. It can look like Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And we as actors, I mean, it's always glamorous on the outside. We are out there like Westworld. Westworld has some of the most difficult and challenging. I mean, it's a gorgeous piece of work, but it can be very difficult. People get dehydrated and heat stroke. And I think the public has no idea what we go through. I mean, obviously, no one's holding a gun to our head to tell us we have to do it, but it's something we love.
For the craft. Yeah.
How do you stay for the most hydrated? Because you're always in fantastic shape, and for our audience, people like Jervan and I always have to stay camera ready no matter what, even whatever role it is. So what are some ways that you can instruct the audience to always stay healthy?
So for me, it comes down to 2 things. And I can split them into 2 things, obviously the exercise portion and then the dietary portion. And it may come as a surprise, but both I despised. I hated working out in the gym. I can't, and it's more of a mental thing. I can't do things in repetitive action. And what I found as I was growing up, I can't be on a treadmill. I can't lift weights. I need to learn something while I'm doing. And so that's why I was so invested more into the martial arts and the tricking, because every time I'm going out and I'm working out, I'm training, I'm learning some new things. So, and after I'm doing that, I can do it for forever. So I'll give you an example of my schedule. I was training at another training facility for the last couple of years. And in my first year of training, at this stunt gym, I was on a schedule that was a little bit more Spartan than most. I would get to the gym around 6:30 a.m. and I would be training boxing for an hour, and then hour and a half of judo, and then another hour and a half of jujitsu, or 2 hours of jujitsu, and then we would have like another hour of free gym training and such. So it would be either 5 to 6 hours in the morning from 6:30 to 11:30 or 12:30 p.m. I would get home, I would take a shower, eat breakfast at 1 to 2 p.m., take a nap for a couple hours, work from my laptop, and then I would go to Taekwondo from 7 to 8. And then I would head over to Jam to train from 8:30 to 11 p.m. And then I would come back home, have my dinner at around 12:30 and be in bed at 2:30 a.m. and back up again at 6 a.m. to do it. And this was my daily for a year in training. And so I was getting at least 8 hours a day of real physical training. So I wasn't really consistently caring necessarily about my diet. I was eating about 1.5 times a day. So this moves over to the dietary thing. I was not necessarily always thinking about, I need to diet. It's just, when you get into work and stuff, you don't think about it. You don't think about the food that you're taking in. But I was eating like pasta, chicken, beef, and that's usually what kept me like going. But actually, over COVID, I did something called a water fast because I wanted to check out to see how to manipulate my body in different ways. And I had heard about the effects. My friend was coming off of a 30-day water and juice fast. And he was, after 2 hours of training at a breaking session, he was like, yeah, I'm the strongest I've ever been. I dropped 12 pounds. I was doing push-ups and handstand push-ups and right in front of me like crazy. He was cranking them out. And he was like, yeah, this is the best, strongest I've ever been. Really intrigued me. I had heard about it a year ago. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I did 5 days. I was like, let me just test it out before I had to work on Dune 2020 coming up. And so I did a few days of intermittent fasting where I just eat once a day. And then I went for 5 days just drinking water. Now, you mentioned electrolytes. You cannot do this water fast without drinking the water with electrolytes. So I had got specialized water that had magnesium, potassium, and that saved me. And I lost 14 pounds. My body stopped clicking. My knees started getting rejuvenated. Old injuries were healed. My skin cleared up. And it was just 5 days. And that really got me thinking about like, wow, I dropped from 210 to close to 193 in 5 days, mind you. I was really impressed. And I was like, of course, I want to be able to think about how I can do this, how I can manipulate my body going up and down in weight in such a quick time if I have to do that for a roll or doubling or something without having to starve myself, even though I wasn't necessarily super hungry, but I still wanted to figure out how to do that. So I looked in one of these documentaries that's on Netflix, an athletic documentary about veganism, and I've been playing with different stuff.
It's my favorite. Game Changers.
Yes.
Love that. Love that show.
Yeah, one of my other stunt friends told me about it. And so it was good. I'm not a vegan completely, but I had grown up with a vegetarian and meat lifestyle as I was younger. And I was like, what's important for me is that if I'm going to eat only like a few times a day or something, each meal has to be good. I want it to taste good. So I'm not going to replace the chicken and beef unless it's something that I really like. So I found the things that I enjoyed. So usually during the week nowadays, I'll eat vegan. Like with Impossible meat, that tastes really good. I love that. Along with my basic regular diet, and then on the weekends, so if I want to eat out, I'll eat chicken and beef and stuff like that. So that's basically my diet, quote unquote. And I just drink usually because of the water fast. It really showed me how much the potassium water saved me in my life and how really good it helped me, because it helped me through the time, like when I was tired or when I was feeling a little bit worse than usual. I just drank some of that water, souped me right up. So now I just basically just drink water. I don't drink any soda or anything like that. It's become natural for me. So that's pretty much.
Gosh, that's so interesting. Obviously that doesn't work for everybody. And as you know, as we kind of discussed, our jobs are basically like professional athletes. I mean, honestly, we have to, it's not like, oh, I don't want to do this. You have to. I mean, we are our calling card, we have to look like we are. That is obviously could be very dangerous. And I'm glad it worked for you for 5 days. Could you see yourself going, and your friend did it for a month, you said?
Yeah, he did water, grape juice, and apple juice fast, and just that.
Okay, so at least there were sugars and some kind of
he had a little bit, because he even said, he was like, oh man, you just did 5 days of just straight water. That's hard, you know?
Sure.
And I did my research before, like definitely research it a little bit. There's a ton of YouTube videos of people doing 5, 7, 10-day challenges of water. Some people do it with just tea, water and tea and stuff like that. And I would say it was more of the regeneration effects that really got me into it. I wasn't looking for weight loss. I was just looking to see how I can heal old injury. Yeah.
Because you got ripped, I'm sure. Every muscle
Yep.
relation. Because people always wonder, how do you get ripped? Well, the whole thing is the muscle is you can just grow the muscle, but if there's a fat layer over that muscle, no one's going to look ripped. No matter how many ab work, if you do thousands and millions of crunches, you have to get rid of that visceral fat over the abs, as you and I both know. So, okay, so what was your first like real meal after that 5-day water fast?
Oh, I had a steak.
Good for you.
I had a huge steak and an apple. Like they say to take it easy going back in. I had an apple for 30 minutes. I was like, all right, my stomach's okay. All right, we're going to go. I cooked a huge steak. It was great.
I'm surprised you started with an apple, because sometimes that can be so acidic on an empty stomach.
But it was more of the tasting, because you haven't eaten anything for 5 days and you wanted to really feel that juiciness, and just like it was like, wow, okay, this is food again.
For sure. I've done a lot of hosting at bodybuilding competitions, and I always, the Germans, because I'm always like in the green rooms and stuff like that, the Germans are always eating apples and chewing them and spitting them out just to get that sweet taste, because you can get swole with the sugar right before you go on stage. So,
all right. Well,
and what kind of steak did you get? Did you go to like?
I just got Ralph's. I cooked it myself, so I had put some. Yeah, I made my own little special concoction and stuff. But I made it a cheesesteak. I put cheese on it, cumin. It was like a curry type of steak that I made.
Did you inhale it or enjoy it?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I sat there and just chewed and savored every bite.
Moment. Absolutely. Well, I do a lot of intermittent fasting as well. How do you recommend getting through? Plus, because of the fact that I've been injured, I'm a 2-a-day workout person. So the fact that I'm so injured, I'm not able to do that. I mean, I'm working everything around it, believe me. And I love boxing, and I'm not really able to box with this left arm properly. But because of that, I'm like, you know what, I can't, the calorie surplus and deficit's got to measure out, because when I get back in, I need to be camera ready. How do you get through those? Because sometimes you can get through that time, especially if you're doing that much activity and doing the water fast. How in the world do you not faint? And when you get that stomach where it's like, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to kill somebody, I'm so hangry at this point. But you said you just drink some water and you're fine?
Yeah. So for that 5-day water fast, that was the only time that I did it. I just want to make that clear. Like I've only I did it like a few months ago, never did it again yet. But I'm not against it. I did certain intermittent fasting. Like I would drink water for the most of the day, and then I would have one big meal after, just to really see to test. I was still testing out to see how fast I can fluctuate with my body weight going up and down, and my size, the mass. And I really saw that when I took in carbs, like I would blow up really quickly. And then I would, if I just eliminated them, then I would shrink in size again. So it was interesting, because I was like, oh, I thought it was the meat that was really doing it, but it was actually the carbs. Yeah, I would say definitely do things at your pace. I didn't work out or train for the first 2 days of the intermittent fast, of the 5-day water fast. On the 3rd day, though, I woke up and I felt like Superman. I had huge amounts of energy. And I was like, this is amazing. This is strange, but this is great. And I was able to train. I still took my time at night, but I was able to go to breaking class training and got to crank out a couple hours, and it was really good. So when you're injured, that's a big thing, because as athletes, we're always injured, but the thing that I really enjoy about, at least with stunts and dance, street dance performance, we always have the saying is like, there's always something that you can work on. And it's really like, of course I've had some pretty bad injuries myself, but I don't think there's ever been a time in my life that I haven't been able to find one thing that I could work on. And a lot of people think that you have to be in the gym in order to work on something, and not necessarily. Even in COVID, there was things that I was like, okay, I can work on my flexibility more. I wanted to get super splits, or more flexible in different range, or more range in different things, and that'll still break your sweat, or just doing things very slowly in different positions. And this is obviously, I think it's like yoga theory. I guess they do things very, very slowly, and it's harder,
Very
it's a
much
lot.
so.
It's a lot harder. So you don't have to be like running like crazy to break a
Right.
sweat, like to exercise. You can be doing things at a very, very slow pace, like Tai Chi, and you'll get your workout. you'll get
You
you'll
do
get your
yoga?
training. I
My
don't. I need to.
I
I've
can't.
done a few
I don't
classes,
like it
but I can't.
either. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
Like,
But I will say that there was one thing that while we were doing previs for Dune, uh, Roger Yuan, he was the stunt coordinator. He led us every day through about an hour and a half of um, a mixture of yoga and martial arts training that was the most amazing stuff that I've ever done, because he really lets you feel every single fiber and muscle in your body. And he was saying he was doing it because he had back problems. So he figured it all out for himself originally. And he was just like, it was just like literally the compression and extraction of muscles. Like you're flexing your muscles and contracting it, and then you're releasing it in different ways and in different positions. And it was tough. Like all of us stunt performers, we were all like, this is hard. And, especially after my training, like you think that you're pretty tough, but like you go in and you're like, this is very, very hard, but it's simultaneously the most amazing thing, because I feel everything in my body, and I didn't even realize I could feel like that, And so I wouldn't consider it yoga, but it definitely opened my mind to the different things that I was neglecting, and muscle groups that I was neglecting, and the things that I could achieve if I worked on them harder.
and you
So
were probably sore the next day because those are muscles you probably have never accessed, or if you did, you didn't concentrate solely on those smaller.
yeah, it was. I generally don't get super sore unless I've sat around for a bit.
Yeah, true.
But it was still like, I was like, yeah, I was feeling it for sure.
Yeah. No, a couple of things there. I think it's kind of cool because, like, when you said you have to go in ahead of time and do a workout, I'm like, ugh, yeah, but you have to salvage your energy. That's a lot of energy for a day of set. But the way that you described it, it sounds like a yoga and sort of martial art that's slow. So not only that, but also kind of gets you relaxed and concentrated in the head, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So, wow, it sounds like a really interesting way to go around things. But I 100% agree with you as far as you can always find a way to work out. And also, when you said you were sort of in touch with those muscle groups, a lot of problems with people that are lifting weights, sometimes they just like go through the motions of an arm curl. They don't think to themselves, this is the bicep contracting and the bicep, and then the tricep contracting, and that really helps you get more in tune with your body. And, I myself, when I was in the hospital for so long, my dad was on the phone. He's like, McDaniels, squeeze those glutes the entire time you're in the hospital, work the abs. And I did. And I had
great.
a Peloton delivered to my place while I was in the hospital. I mean, I couldn't use it for 7 months, but still, I love what you said. And a lot of people losing the gym. Well, there's a million things you can do, the viral videos. I mean, I've told friends, especially girls who just don't want to lift, take some water bottles and curl them during commercial breaks and do some squats. There's always something. So
Yeah.
I love what you said about that. Back to that diet. It's obviously not recommended for everybody, but for people like you and I that are diehards for things, it's we just do what we do. Kidney problems. I mean, sometimes these, like your friend, that might be something that could happen, and actors and people have to watch that, because one of my friends was on watermelon only, trying to cut weight, and had some bad gastric problems and things like that. So you and I can say this, it's just, be, like you said, be cautious for the audience and things like that. This is super interesting.
No, 100%. They always recommend, I personally didn't do it and I probably should, but they always say, get a doctor's approval, go through, talk to them, sit, and most of us are too lazy. We're just like, oh, YouTube has the answers.
We're above it. We don't need
But then as you said, like, because you talked to your mom and you went to the doctor, you don't necessarily know. You may have something that could really do damage to yourself. There was a YouTube video where the guy did it. He tried to do the 7-day water challenge, but he drank the wrong water. He just drank regular filtered water from pet bottles, and he got really sick. By the 4th day, he had to quit. It was bad. So like, it's really important to really do your research and really check to see if you're good for these things. I wouldn't recommend doing a lot of stuff, but I mean, check to see, like, test it out. Try intermittent fasting like you were doing, like eat once a day, see if and it again, it'll be a challenge to yourself. You'll be like, how strong is my mental? You know, how good is my patience? Do I really need to do it? Do I really need to eat right now? You're going to be playing games with yourself. You're going to talk to yourself. You're like, it's okay if I break it an hour before. It's the same thing, you know, like those kind of things. It really tests you, you know.
And we push harder. We want 5 more.
Yeah.
But just like Jervan said, just two safety cautions. You definitely did drink electrolytes. So you're not just drinking unfiltered water.
Yes.
I mean, yes, you paid attention to your water. And also, like you said before, you were not doing those like 6:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. workouts, and then going back in again on that fast.
Oh, no.
And to reiterate what you said, which is very important, it is you manipulated your body and you chose different paths while experimenting with this. But now you can use this in your toolbox to go back to, like, you need to get super ripped for a roll. Boom, you have it. Yeah. Now I am fascinated with an upcoming Mike Tyson fight. Fascinated. When he's going to fight Roy Jones Jr. It is serious. Now, a couple things.
Man is a beast.
Beast. I love him so much. I can't even. I would just worship the ground he walks on. He has been vegan for quite some time. I think it's 2 or 3 years. And now that
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And now that he's gone back to training, he's training with a huge MMA, I think he's from Brazil, coach. They have incorporated only bison, any other kind of meat. So bison, to him, is the cleanest and what has been recommended. And Mike Tyson said, I've gotten that. He said, I'm fine being vegan, but for some reason when I fight, I just feel a little bit more like almost ferocious with this bison. And as we know, that's a very clean game animal. So I was really interested in that.
Yeah. I mean, you can feel, I at least like, I'm no scientist in this or whatever, but I've definitely heard people say, like, the studies is just, you're going to feel the hormones from the meat. It's going to be through the even the act and the mentality of eating another living being, honestly. Like, it's going to be in your head, and that'll make you more act out that species. So I can totally understand.
And even if it's just mental, like thinking of a lion with like a raw piece of meat, that's how I see Tyson. He's just unbelievable. And also he has an upcoming movie, and Jamie Foxx is playing him. But they're playing the role where he's like a little larger. So it's kind of a role where it was like after his prime, yet, you know, all the stuff that he dealt with, like, you know, mentally and things like that. So I think Jamie Foxx had to put on a bunch of bulk. So, you know, because usually Jamie's pretty lean and
right. Yeah, I was surprised that he grabbed that role. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe, but I think he and Jamie are really good friends. So I think that Jamie was really able to get the mannerisms because he's a master impersonator. So he's been
like Will Smith did for Muhammad Ali. You know.
Totally.
And didn't see that at all before that. I was like, holy crap. The transformations that actors do is amazing, you know?
Exactly. At first I was like, out of all those actors, they picked him, but he really did a good job. So, and that's why Mike Tyson said Jamie's kind of so close to him that it's almost a little easier. But I think he's had to put on bulk. And have you been asked to, like, especially for certain celebrities that you've doubled for, I don't know if you can say any experiences that you've had, you know, with the way you've had to manipulate your body, and or, you know, people that you've covered that have been really interesting.
Right. So I personally haven't yet. They haven't had me say like, hey, you got to gain 15 pounds in a couple of days, you know, in a couple of weeks. The longest I doubled was Jovan Adepo on Jack Ryan season 2. And that was in Colombia. And they just needed me to grow out more facial hair. They were putting easy. A lot of, actually it's difficult for me.
Oh, is that easy? Okay.
Yeah, that was the word. It was hard. Yeah, they were putting on fake hair for a while for me. I was falling in my food all the time. It was hard. Yeah. But yeah, he was a little bit stockier than me. So I I'm consciously trying to stay as close to the double as I could. And honestly, by the mid to end of the show, everybody was getting us confused. Like they
That's
were thinking that we were
great.
the same person,
That's a super compliment to you. And did you keep the glue in the facial hair for being more manly in certain areas?
No, I was after the show, I was like, all right, I'm done. Thank
Yeah.
God. But I
Shave it.
actually did keep I kept the beard for a while because I knew how long it took me. And it helped me play. I had almost like a Rick Ross rapper kind of beard. It was really
Sure.
big.
Perfect. Yeah.
And they had me do a music video for a hip hop artist. And I was supposed to play a blood gangster. And when I
Interesting.
saw myself in costume on the photo, I was just like, wow, this is crazy. I do not look like myself normally.
Did you send it to your mom?
Yeah, no, I did not. She does not need to see that.
I love it.
Yeah, but it's in my reel as well. But it was funny because I was like, wow, yeah, I was pretty big, and I'd say after that, I was at the biggest that I've been like physically in a
Sure.
while. Before I did this water fast, I was like my shoulders were big. I was really large, and then, but there's always pros and cons. Like since I'm a dancer as well, I still break and I still trick. That 15 pounds of difference is crazy, and it'll do a lot of. It's a lot harder to even like I felt like running up the stairs kind of thing, even though you're
Yeah.
physically fit. And after the water fast, after I dropped the weight, I was like just floating upstairs. I was like, this is only 13 pounds or something, but the difference is crazy. That my tumbling was higher. I was jumping higher. It was great. So there is still a good balance that you're going to want to be able to keep. And that's also a reason why I was like, I want to be able to switch my weight as quickly as I can, as I want to, without having to like just be in a sweatsuit and like
Exactly.
kill
Go to a
myself.
sauna and things like
Yeah.
that.
And let me be honest, like I don't drink, I don't smoke, but my vice is I eat ice cream and cookies like like crazy.
Oh,
I love ice
absolutely.
cream and cookies. Yeah. So I that's why I always say like I never diet. I don't count calories. I don't like count my weight, or I mean for food. I don't weigh out my food. I don't do the 5 times eating a day. My ex used to do that. She was from a bodybuilding family. So and
Yes.
she was a model as well. So she's the one who like I realized I was like, oh, this is dieting. This is what real dieting is. This is what actually like doing it really is and figuring it out. So I saw that lifestyle, and the things that I just changed to just drinking like 0-calorie tea, like Arizona iced tea, and
Sure.
drinking more water and stuff. But like I never put myself on that strict, I cannot do this. And I think that's the
No.
mental version. Cause if I know I can, then I don't feel I have to. Like I
Right.
don't, it's not like on my mind all the time. If I know I can't eat, that's the hardest part of the mental of saying
Sure.
like, oh, I can't eat it. Then you want to
And
do it even more.
exactly. It's just be your choice. But I love that you said, because I was going to ask you, what has been your favorite cheat food during COVID? But it's probably the ice cream and cookies.
Oh yeah, I'll go to like get some baked cookies from Ralph's, and I'll put that in the microwave, warm it up 30
Aren't
seconds, put
those
some
good? And
ice.
it's just Ralph's grocery store.
They're so
Amazing.
good.
They're
They're
soft.
so
I mean, you
yes,
can smell them when you go by that area, and they're just in a
amazing.
box. Oh my
If you
God.
haven't tried the apple cinnamon ones that they have there, I highly
Oh,
recommend
see,
it.
we would never argue over that. I am
Oh
like
yeah,
chocolate
they're
all the
so good.
way. Don't put
Yeah.
fruit in my cookie.
Oh yes, I do that, and double chocolate,
Ice cream.
ones. Yeah, and then I would put like peanut butter chocolate ice cream on top,
Oh,
melted almond mode. Yeah,
yes.
that's my thing for
Chocolate
sure.
peanut butter, you cannot go wrong. But you
Yeah.
can take the apple cinnamon. I'll take the other one.
Okay. Yeah, I
That's
got you. Yeah, the
awesome.
double chocolate.
But with that cheat, just like you said, even though you don't diet, I can't imagine weighing food. And some people are so,
They're
it's got to
adamant
be
about
so
it.
stressful.
Yeah.
But we're both very physical, obviously. But even you can eat whatever you want, but in your own head, because you're educated and you know your body, if you eat a ton, if you go to Ralph's and just like blitz it, that it's a calorie and deficit, surplus and deficit, and you would work
Yeah.
it off. You're not, because you can say you can eat whatever you want, but you're also extremely in tune to your body and very
Right.
physical. So
So there was a month during COVID. So after my water diet, and I think a little before it actually, but uh pretty much right after it, I was working a lot from my laptop and working on a few projects. So I wasn't able to literally work out for like a month. I wasn't able to train like I usually do. So I did gain weight, and it was like the fattest, quote unquote. I still had some sort of abs, but I personally noticed, I was like, I can grab my stomach here, and I never used to grab it here, you know? And so I really, of course, really realized, even though I was eating healthier than I ever had, I was drinking water like I ever had. I still need to work out. I still needed to do that the training that I usually do. So the thing mentally, though, as an athlete, you always know that you can get back into where you can get. So I kind
Muscle
of,
memory, we have it.
yeah. And it would be 2 weeks, and I was like, boom, I'm done, back. But that's also I banked on that a little bit too much, because I was like, I'll be fine. And then I got to a point where I was just like, yeah, I'm not good with this. I gotta get back into shape.
Totally.
So yeah, I just went
You
hard.
get in front of that mirror and you're like, oh, hell
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So back at it. And again, I think I gotta stress, like, you gotta do the things that you enjoy. Like, I cannot do things that it's like, if I'm thinking that I'm working out, it's difficult for me. But if I'm just going to play, or if I'm going to learn something, then I can do that for all the time that I need to. And it's just fun, So
That's
make
genius
sure that
advice
you're,
for people that get so sick of the monotony.
yeah,
And now with the gym closing, that's another excuse. Well, I hate the treadmill, and now I don't go to the gym, so I'm not going to do anything. And
right.
instead, you're always like diversifying your mind by learning the martial arts as you're going there, and then
Yep.
you don't get bored, because I'm extremely ADHD with my stuff too. But I'm kind of going crazy because there's only so many things I can do right now being injured. So I have to like rotate among those, but I still make it fun. Like, I'll be in the Peloton, and every commercial break, if I'm watching TV, I go lift in my place,
Yeah.
go back and forth. And then I just pace back and forth or do wall push-ups, just something different. But
That's cool.
anyway,
I worked
yes.
on getting new skills. So like I was saying about the flexibility, I also spent time trying to get a better handstand like that. Even though I flip around in gymnastics all the time, I never actually had a super strong,
The
long
balance.
lasting handstand. So I make goals, mini goals for myself in order to be able to get that. And I did not realize how much energy and how tiring that is. Like, I was doing handstands on a wall for a minute and 8 reps of that. So I did 8 minutes of just holding handstands, and your shoulders are shot by the
Did
end
you
of this.
add the push-ups to that?
No.
You
I
were
was just
vertical?
holding it. You're just holding it, holding
Just
the
the
stand, and it's all your
isometrics.
body weight just holding on that, and
Wow.
in order to get the position, and then obviously trying to hold it for longer in time. And I get competitive with myself. Of course, it's a competition.
Mm-hmm.
I record myself. I look at my form. That's not great. I got to do it again. And little do you know, 2 hours goes by, and you've just been working on trying to get a 15-second handstand for 2 hours. Like, it's something
Oh
like
my
that. But
gosh.
it works you out. And so giving yourself little goals, like, I want to have in 3 months, I want to have a split like this. I want to have a handstand that's 30 seconds in 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
or less. Do shorter goals. If you know that 3 months is too long for you, do a month, do 2 weeks, and make sure that you're seeing different types of progression that you can record. So if you couldn't hold a handstand for more than 2 seconds, after a week, if you have 5 seconds, that gives you in your brain hey, I'm doing something, and you really feel it and doing stuffing. And so give yourself goals that it's not like, I'm going to lose 60 pounds in 6 months. That kind of stuff, like, it doesn't work for me, because like,
Yeah.
you can easily push that off. But if it's something in a goal that you can reach in a week or less, or 2 weeks or something, like, that keeps people usually more on track, and it allows you to, okay, now I got to here, now I'm going to move on to here. So try to
Such a
give
wonderful
yourself really small
reminder.
goals.
Absolutely. Because like, if someone had to lose 60 pounds, that's extremely daunting. And then you have to be social, all of these things. So,
Yeah.
wow, you have been amazing. So just a couple of things I will put all of your links, but you had mentioned Dune in 2021. Tell us about the film that you're going to be in.
Oh, so we were doing an additional part to the scene. They had already filmed the main portion, but we did a dream sequence. So they had us do mocap for that. I was doing motion
Oh,
capture.
cool.
So you won't necessarily see me, but you'll see the fight
Your
scenes and the
likeness and
things for it.
everything.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they had replicated us for a bunch of the fight scenes. And it was really cool. We were doing like fight scenes to make a whole army versus different types of characters. And going back and forth and such. So when I saw the trailer came out, I was like, oh, okay, this is a good movie. I was happy about it. Sometimes you get kind of like, is it gonna be good or not?
Super embarrassed. Totally.
so yeah, that was something. And then as I got back on Danger Force as a stunt actor, since I still do acting as well. And especially now in COVID, a lot of stunt performers that can act are being hired a lot more because you can do both. And of course, productions want to save money, and COVID tests, you don't have to do this. So Danger Force was really fun. I just was on Fear of the Walking Dead in Texas, Austin, Texas.
Great.
And yeah, it's been good because productions are starting to come back, and you start to do different things.
Did you shoot in Austin during COVID?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, actually.
Good
I
for
just got back. Yeah. So that was the first time I was on a plane in 8 months.
Yeah.
And they give you a lot of COVID tests. So I got one before I got on the plane. I got a few while I was there, and I was only on set for 1 day, and I was there for 7 days.
Wow.
So they kept us quarantined and stuff like that. So
sure.
Yeah, they're very, very careful in COVID. But they're making sure that, hey, you're good, you're still good, you're good, you're good, you're good. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you good?
And they'll replace an actor in 2 seconds if they get sick. They'll pull somebody even if they're like not 100% qualified. So
yeah, some of these shows have gotten shut down because people on set got COVID.
Yeah.
So it's a hard truth that we're dealing with right now. Hopefully in the next year we'll either adjust or things will be a lot better, and we can get back to a little bit more normality. But I will say that I do appreciate it because the one thing that stuck out is that they kept it to a 10-hour day. They said that we're not able to go over 10-hour days at all.
Sure.
Of course, we do like our overtime for money.
Golden time.
Yeah, golden time.
Ching.
But what they were stressing is that people's immune systems get shut down from getting overworked, and that's where they're most vulnerable. And we really didn't think so much about how crazy people get pushed on set, for hours and hours. And it's terrible, honestly, to be put in that position. If I'm on set for 12 to 14 hours a day, and a lot of times stunts will come last, they'll have us sit around for 12 hours, and then they'll be like, you get 30 minutes, go. And I'm like, I didn't warm up. I'm gonna, and that's where a lot of injuries and mistakes happen.
That's why I got injured. Sit around,
right.
sit around,
right.
And you try to keep yourself sharp. I think I went to Starbucks 18 times. I'm like, and then you're like super jittery on caffeine.
Yeah.
It's a lot. No, but you pay close attention. And I'm sure, if you can recommend, do you take vitamin D or anything else during this time, like turmeric or apple cider vinegar, to keep yourself extra healthy?
So you know more about that than I do. Like I said, I'm not really great on the nutrition side, but I would always just take vitamin C. If I ever, that was my main thing when I was a kid and growing up. And even now, if I ever get a cold or anything, I just take 2 vitamin C tablets and I'm done.
Sure. Well, we're all lacking vitamin D in LA because even though there's a lot of sunshine, it's covered with a layer of the pollution and everything like that. Yeah. So although less right now, but still it's coming back. So anyway.
That's good to know. I need to go to my local pharmacy.
Get your vitamins. We will follow you. I'll put all the links below in the podcast. You have been an absolute pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
And that was Hollywood stuntman Jervan "Swerve" Bramble, who challenges his body to the max through ever-changing methods for top physicality and nutrition. You can find all of his links below in the podcast notes. Please stay tuned in next week for my interview with Gay Thornton and her alternative medicine methods for healing the body. We appreciate you for listening, and please subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. You can also listen on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Luminary, Tuned In, or at Bleav.com. You can reach out to me for any questions or topics that you'd like covered on the show at Anne McDaniels. And I'll see you next time on SoCal.